You're listening to It Came From the Radio. This is Jennifer Elise Feldman, and I'm here with Edward X. Young. He studied film and television production, acting, journalism at Seton Hall University. He's been acting and stage directing at Brookdale College. He was in the business administration at Monmouth University and film production at NYU. Now, he honed his acting skills as a member of the RISK, worked on numerous experimental film and video projects as director, writer, editor, animator and makeup special effects artist. We have with us Edward X. Young. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Welcome. Thank you very much.
So, first question. Now, every day on a film set means to me, you will learn today. I learned exactly how hard different fans blow wind on one project, realizing that I needed a leaf blower to make the actress's hair and dress blow during a ghostly scene, and the fan that I brought wasn't enough. And that's one thing I never thought I'd need to know. What blows the strongest air to make a woman's dress blow in the wind? It's not my fan, it's a leaf blower. So, what are some lessons that you learned while on set?
The most important lesson I have learned in the 21 years that I've been acting in these independent horror pictures, the most important lesson I've learned, uh, I actually learned from an interview with Kirk Douglas talking about acting. What's the most important
Mhm.
thing to know on a movie set?
Mhm.
I learned that when you see a chair, sit down. I'll
How'd you
explain.
learn that?
I'll explain. I got
Yeah.
into the business late. I mean, I studied acting and filmmaking, and I was really into the arts and
Mhm.
everything when I was young, with nothing but attacks from my family, doing everything to sabotage my career goals, and the doubt from my friends. I mean, nobody was standing behind me,
Oh.
and I got involved in a early marriage, which was really bad. And anyhow, when I finally broke into the business with all the training I had, and I'd done repertory theater in my youth, when I finally got into the business, I went into it with a maybe an enthusiasm in overdrive, an exuberance on steroids, one might say, and I was just anxious to be every part of every project, every picture I was in, especially the first one. I mean, I was there when they didn't need me on the set. I mean, and I was on the set a lot, you know, Kirk Douglas cautioned. I mean, as an actor, you've got to maintain your energy. And I learned the hard way in some of the early projects when I didn't start acting professionally until I was 44 years old, rather late
Mhm.
time to start. And, you know, I didn't have the energy of my youth, but I found in a few of my earlier projects that at a certain point when they'd finally call for me to do my thing, I was worn out. I was already shot.
Uh,
and so and so I realized that that's extremely important. And and actually that was iterated in a different way by a friend of mine who I have never had, I almost had a chance to work with him, and then I was in a terrible car accident and I had to drop out of that project. Fred Williamson, the famous Super Bowl hero, football player, who then became the king of black exploitation movies as an actor and then a producer and a director. And I know Fred Williamson pretty well, and he was with me. He was at the premiere of one of my first really big hit. It was a movie called Mr. Hush, and that was in God, it was in 2010. And he wanted to have a private breakfast with me very early in the morning at 6 a.m. And he said, "You know, I
uh,
like you. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I want to give you a warning. I think you could go places." He goes, "Don't love it too much." He goes, if you love it
why?
too much, you're gonna get burned. The acting, screen acting, the performance thing. He said I can tell you love it, and he
Mhm.
goes, and it's very visible. He said if people see how much you love it, he goes, they can exploit you, and there'll be a lot of disappointments in this business. So he said it's art. He goes, I'm an artist. He goes, but it's also a job, and it's also not your life. He said keep a strong handle on your real life, your real world. And those are really two important lessons. Sit down and stay level headed.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I basically collapsed yesterday for about 16 hours and I still had to cancel tonight, which is why we're able to do this. So it's great for me and you. But,
Yeah.
there's only so much energy you have. And I do makeup and acting and production and the special effects and the glam. And it's like you have to take those times when you can chill, and you better chill or you're gonna collapse or have to cancel things. So that is good advice to relax as an artist, to maybe not talk too much on set and get your,
Oh, yeah.
maybe go in a bubble before doing your scene, get some
Yes.
relaxation.
Don't talk too much on set. Keep your focus. Keep your concentration. And
Yeah.
especially, I mean, I've done background on some big studio pictures, even a Disney movie, The Game Plan. I've got about 20 seconds of screen time in that. But yes, don't ever. I mean, if you're in those kind of situations, don't ever break the concentration or mess with the big stars. They're not carrying any kind of elitist attitude with them. They're getting paid a lot of money to be on their game, and
Right.
I've watched where other people, other like wannabe actors who have jobs as background, good jobs as background, will approach somebody, like The Rock and say, "Okay, I have your autograph, sir. I'm a big fan." And while he's obviously like concentrating on his next scene, yeah, you've got to keep your mouth shut on the set.
Yeah, no, learning sometimes, even if it's like four sentences, sometimes I'll want to study that for an hour just because I want to say those four sentences in such a particular way and I want to stay in that headspace. And if you take me out of this somber headspace, let's say, it might be hard for me to get back into it. So maybe I can't talk to you? But anyway, moving back to you now. You were in the film Sea of Dust. You acted alongside Ingrid Pitt, which is best known as Hammer Film's most seductive female vampire of the early 1970s. So what was that like? Was it exciting? Was it intimidating?
Well, I must say, I can say this now. I got her the job,
Whoa.
and she was very grateful. Uh, I had just gone through a nasty divorce. I was very depressed. I was living in New Hampshire, and I was 44 years old, and working. I mean, I was getting some decent money, but I was bored out of my
Mhm.
mind. I got a job as an inspector, as like one of the chief inspector at a ball bearing factory. And
Hmm.
well, I was set for life, good retirement, 401k, all that jazz. And I just felt my life going down the tubes. I mean, a friend of mine from college found me, and he found me through the internet. I'd lost touch with people I went to school with, and he was working as a professional actor. And I told him my story, and we were talking on the phone. His name is Bill, and Bill Timoney. He's does Broadway and a lot of TV. But he called me one day and told me that that he had an opportunity I could not turn down, an offer I couldn't refuse. He said, you know you're a great actor. I was talking to our old professor director from Seton Hall, Doc McGlone, and he was wondering whatever happened to you, and said how much talent you
Hmm.
had when you were a student actor. And he gave me this opportunity. He said, it's you love Hammer movies, right? I said, yeah. He said, I got an there's a guy who's making a movie that's a tribute to Hammer films. And he goes, and they're casting. And he goes, they got a lot of small parts in there. And he goes, I myself am going to be in the picture. And he said, but I put a good word in for you. And he goes, you got to make it down here for the audition. And this was like on a Saturday. And I said, well, when do I have to be there for the audition? He goes, Tuesday. And I was like, and he goes, you got to bring a headshot and a resume. I'm like, anyhow, I lived in New Hampshire in a very like Mayberry RFD kind of town. I went to the local photographer who knew me. I lived in a town called Peterborough, like less than 5,000 people. It's Thornton Wilder's our town. I went to the local photographer. He knew me. I told him the story, and he goes, "Well, let's put together a good headshot for you." And he did it for me the same day. Got a
Wow.
resume back, but I went down there to audition for Sea of Dust, and my friend told me to go for this 1 day role as like a crazed axe killer. I had like three lines, mostly like shouting like threats and gibberish, and because I was supposed to be an insane axe murderer. But I went there and I auditioned. I dressed all in black, and I gave it my best. I gave it my college try there. And next
Hmm.
thing I know, that the producer, director, this guy Scott Bunt, he said, because I said I was auditioning for the axe murderer, and he said, I want you to read for somebody else. I'm going to give you some different sides here. And he gave me this role of Dr. Maitland. And I'm looking through the script. The whole script was lying up there. I'm like, God, this character's got like 60 pages. And
Wow.
so I read for it, and he said, and he looked at his wife, who was the other producer. He said, "That's it. He's the one." And he goes, "We know you live in New Hampshire, but because I was living in New Hampshire, he said, can you make it down here for the whole month of July of 2010?" And I said, "Well, yeah." And he goes, "We want to give you this role." And I was like, I go, "Really?" I go, this is like maybe like the second lead. And he goes, "Well, yeah, it is."
Right.
And I said, and I got kind of nervous. I said, are you sure you know what you're doing? And he goes, "What, you don't want it?" He goes, "You'd rather have the smaller part?" And I said, I just haven't acted in a film before, and I really haven't acted in almost 20 years since I was in college and then doing repertory when I got out. And I said, "Well, why do you want me? I want to do it." And he said, "Well, we're doing a tribute to Hammer movies." He goes, we've been auditioning for 3 days." He said, "You're the only one to walk in here and have the air and demeanor of Christopher Lee." This was the part I would have written for Christopher Lee if I could have got him. And
Wow.
so and so I was like, wow. And then I told my friend Bill Timoney, and he was like, they gave you Dr. Maitland. I'm like, "Then." He goes, "That was the part I was supposed to have." So, like, look, I didn't steal it from you, man. They offered it to me, but anyhow, it was great. But we were doing the rehearsals, and and it was, and they paid me well. Here I was, my first movie. I get like the second lead. I get the good guy, and we're doing the rehearsals early on, the readings, and we were supposed to originally have Keir Dullea of 2001, A Space Odyssey, in as the villain in the castle. He was cast, and then we got the bad news broken to us that anyhow that Keir Dullea had to drop out because he was offered a big role in Robert De Niro's directorial debut, The Good Shepherd, and he profoundly he apologized and said, "I never usually drop out, but I can't turn this down. I'm very sorry, fellas." And then the director was in a quandary. What are we going to do? And they were having the Chiller Theater convention coming up. And I said, I looked at the list of guests, and that Tom Savini is going to be there. And he goes, "Oh, yeah, he'd be great." And he goes, "But how are we going to get him?" And I said, I've met him like 20 times over the years at conventions. He knows me on a first name basis. I told him that I wish I could get into acting. He said, "Maybe we'll work together someday." So I got him Tom Savini, and it was great. It was wonderful work because not only did I act with Tom, he didn't do any makeup, but we became very friendly. And he taught me a lot of tricks. So I was able to do makeup later on. He taught me stuff, but
Cool.
he taught me how to make blood the right way. He taught me how to make fake guts. He taught me a lot of the makeup techniques that I've used. So, I mean, I didn't have to even go to his school and pay him. He just liked me and was telling me how to do. He was telling me how to do this or that or the other. But the director was really getting along quite well with me in the readings, and he was very delighted. I got him Savini, but he said, "I want to know your opinion because you're the only one on the set, well, except for my friend Bill." He goes, "The two of you, the only guys who are really authorities on these Hammer movies, and I'm trying to
Right.
capture the spirit." And he goes, what would really make this a true Hammer tribute? Are we missing something?" I said, "Yeah, you're missing a Hammer star." And he was like, "Oh," and his wife was there, and he was like, "Well, we can't get Sir Christopher Lee." I said, "No, but I bet you could get Ingrid Pitt." And he
Hmm.
goes, "You do? You think so?" And I said, "Yeah, because she does a lot of conventions. If she's doing conventions, I bet she loves. I don't think she's acted in a few years. I'll bet you could get her." and and,
Wow.
he, and I just said I didn't think he was taking me seriously. They shot down Christopher Lee, and he was like, "Ingrid Pitt, okay." And a week later, he calls me and he goes, tells me, one second. "I got great news." He goes, "We contacted Ingrid Pitt through her agent. She's in London. We sent her the script. She loves it. She'll do it." I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me." So we got Ingrid Pitt. It turns out she'd had some health issues. And you have health problems in this. She'd had major health issues, a heart attack, a stroke, a bout with
Um,
breast cancer. And as a result of her stroke, she walked with a limp,
oh
but
my
she could
God.
still act. But nobody, people were afraid to use her, and so she was delighted, and she flew into the States and she worked with us, and the word got out. I wasn't bragging about it, but word got out. Somehow she found out that I was instrumental in getting her the role, and she was extremely grateful, and gave me a deep, luscious kiss, even though she was married and her husband was off somewhere. she, we got along famously on the picture, and I couldn't believe I was working with Ingrid Pitt, who was an idol of mine. I
Hmm.
mean, I could be frank. I mean, the first time I ever saw nudity on the screen was seeing her in The Vampire Lovers. I'm 11 years old, and there's Ingrid Pitt in these nude scenes. It was like, very
Wow.
important part. But I have to say, she was crazy. She was totally. If I was to describe Ingrid Pitt, you got to think of Tim Burton's movie Ed Wood, and imagine Bella Lugosi in drag. I mean, she was that crazy, getting on the nerves of a lot of people. My friend Bill actually could not
Mhm.
stand her, and he had an option to get his Caroline Monroe, and he was kind of upset that the producer director went for Ingrid Pitt, but also she got on the nerves of a lot of the people on the set, but she
What did she
loved
do?
her. Well,
What
she
was she
was
doing?
she was the ultimate prima donna. I mean,
Oh,
her attitude was like, "Do you realize I'm Ingrid Pitt?
oh
Superstar.
boy.
I'm a legend." And
Hmm.
and also as a result of the stroke, she wasn't great on memorizing her lines.
Oh
She was
no.
pretty much all over the place, but she was still Ingrid Pitt, and she was still quite entertaining. And she did not like having, like with the AD, she did not
Hmm.
like having anybody give her orders. You'd
Oh
politely
boy.
ask her to move on. So it was, if you remember Martin Landau playing Lugosi in Ed Wood, I was like this. She's just like, oh, and in fact, she couldn't walk too well or get up. And that's when I realized this. I was on the set once and they needed us. And we were at craft. We were having, lunch, for people who don't know the term craft. But when it came time, she she was having trouble getting up, and she reached out to me and she was like, Eddie, Eddie, please help me, Eddie.
My goodness.
And I'm like, that's just what Lugosi was saying to Ed Wood in the movie. I was like,
Oh my
I've become
God.
I'm Ed Young. I've become Ed Wood, and she's my Lugosi.
But when she
And
got the lines out, was it good?
yeah,
Once the lines
oh yeah, yeah. Well,
good?
it was frustrating to the director because
Hmm.
I felt she added to her character because she wildly improvised at some points and even threw in some subtext that the director hadn't intended for to be there, but yet it
Hmm.
stayed in the movie because she delivered it.
Hmm.
But the best part was the director was showing me the shooting schedule, and he told me, he said, we have a we're going to shoot your death scene. This was great. Lingard Pitt kills me on screen. I'm one of the two heroes in the movie, but I'm the one that doesn't make it to the end. I find out the secret to the curse, the evil book, and Ingrid Pitt has become possessed. She was a good character, but she has become possessed, and she kills me at the end. And the director told me, and Josh Turi, I want to give him credit, great makeup artist. Savini wouldn't do makeup; he was only going to
Ah.
act.
Hmm.
Unless they paid him a lot more money. He said, I'll act. He goes, but if you want to, I won't say what it was, but he said, if you want me to
Right.
also do makeup, I'm charging you 10 times what I'm willing to do this for. And so I was like,
Wow.
but Josh Turi was great. He did Saturday Night Live, a lot of Broadway, CSI, Law and Order, but great makeup. But the director told me that we're going to be shooting your death scene on July 31st. And I just want to prepare you for it. It's going to be extremely bloody. Ingrid's going to kill you, and she's going to stab you right in the forehead with a crucifix. And there's going to
Oh
be
wow.
blood tubes spraying everywhere. And I said, "Oh, July 31st. Wow. That's my birthday." He goes, "Oh, it's your birthday?" I go, "Yeah, it's my 46th birthday." And he was like, "Look, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that. I mean, I know you got your father. My father was elderly." He goes, "We can reschedule us." I go, "Are you kidding me? This is the best birthday present I could ever hope for in my life. I'm going to be
Yeah.
killed by Edward Pitt on my birthday, and it's going to be bloody." And so, and I told her too. I told her how much this meant to me, and she made it really dramatic. And there was fake blood everywhere, and it was, and the touching thing is I'm lying on the floor in blood. She stabbed me in the head, and then she's like strangling me while I'm still alive with a cross sticking out of my head. and and as I die, she decides. The director went with it. She decides that she pulls out a knife and she kills herself. And then she collapses dead on me, and then she whispered in my ear. It was our last day of shooting. It was the last time I saw her, and she whispers in my ear. She goes, "I love you, Eddie. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I love this picture. I love you." And then she licked inside my ear.
Wow.
so, so it was, and we stayed in touch. And we talked on the phone occasionally, emailed a lot, wrote letters, and sadly, our last communication was 2 days before her death. Uh, all I could say is, she appeared to be doing great. I mean, she died 5 years later, but she appeared to be doing great. Her birthday, she died. She died the day before her birthday, and she was going to a convention in London, England. They were honoring Scream Queens, and she was very excited. And she's the thing is, she at least sounded in great spirits and in great health. And so I guess it's merciful. I heard she had a sudden heart attack, massive heart attack. So, I mean, we all have to go someday. We all got it coming. And deserves
And
has got
speaking
nothing to do
of
with it.
going, that leads to the end of the interview. We gotta go.
Ah,
And you just made my point is that really no good deed goes unpunished. You got her a job, and then she
yeah.
kills you. So to close out the interview, just tell viewers, listener, where to find you on social media. Where can they find you?
Okay. Edward X Young. Don't forget the X. I've got a Facebook presence. I'm also on TikTok, and you can look at my videos of the silk moth caterpillars I raised this summer, which were very popular.
I did.
But also a lot of my movies are free. You can find them on almost every streaming service: Amazon Prime, Tubi, Roku. I'll just throw out some titles: Evil's Lair, The Punk Rocker's Ghost, The Killer Clown Meets the Candy Man. I'm working on four movies right now. I wish I had time to discuss it. I guess I talked too much. I'm working on four pictures right now. Almost every weekend I'm on a different movie set, and I
All
got to
right,
use
so
my
that's the end of our
yeah.
interview. And now for more, it came from the radio with Mark Torres. And we'll have to come back with Edward X. Young. I got questions about his caterpillars. We didn't even get there. That's the end of the interview. And see you later. Now for more with Mark Torres. Mark
Please,
Torres. Mark
please bring me
Torres.
back. Please bring me back. Okay.